चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे सुभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य कलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter number 7, verse 4-5. Teachings of Prahlad to his classmates. So, this is what he heard from Sri Narada when he was in the womb of his mother. And now he is repeating the same instructions to his friends because they were curious how he knows so much. So he told that he heard it from his teacher. And then the question was raised that his teacher and their teacher are same, they are studying in the same school. So how is that he has learned all this? So then he said that he has another teacher. And this is long before they came to the school. So in these instructions, Narada is basically teaching the real purpose of human life and how materialistic people they misuse it because of ignorance about their true self. Because these instructions are for Daityas, and Daitya means materialistic people. So for materialistic people what you can tell is that what they are doing is not the real purpose and will not give them happiness which they want. So this is what he explained in the previous verses, that we work only for two reasons. We want to become happy or we want to dispel our suffering. But it does not happen. And this is because of our identification with the body. We try to seek happiness only through the senses and have no knowledge of the higher happiness which comes from devotion to God. So he explained that all the objects related to body as well as the body itself is nashvara, temporary. It will be lost, and therefore it cannot give permanent happiness. Because if body itself is not permanent, how can it be the cause of permanent happiness? A temporary cause cannot give eternal result. Although earlier he said one interesting thing, that although body is temporary, yet it can award permanent happiness in the form of devotion if it is used for that purpose. Otherwise everything else you work for will give only temporary. So he says, Kimu vyavahita apatya daragar dhanadaya rajyam kosh gajamatyam vrityaptam antaskara. So all the objects of affection, object of attachment which we have, children, wife, husband, wealth, house, animals, possessions, relatives, counselors, subjects, anything else, they are all lost along with the body. So therefore it says, Kimetairatmanas tuchai sahadehena nashvaraihi anarthairartha sankashair nityananda mahodadehe. So he says that what is the purpose of all these things? They are very insignificant, tuchha, because they are lost along with the body. Sahadehena nasvaraihi. When body is lost, everything else is lost. And although these are called artha, so the word artha means money, artha also means objects, possessions. So, but they are the cause of anartha. Anartha means unwanted, undesirable, that brings trouble. Anartha means trouble, or cause of trouble. And artha is something we like, we desire. Arthyate prarthate iti artha. That which we desire is called artha. That which we don't want is anartha. So it says that these objects which we consider as artha, if you analyze them, they are actually anartha. So therefore it says anarthair artha sankasha. Sankasha means that it appears, they appear to be arthas, means desirable. It looks as if we have them, we will be happy. And says that they cause anartha. And this is everybody's experience. So it says Nityananda Mahodade. It says that Atma itself is the source of Ananda. So Atma means Bhagavan, and he is the real source of happiness, is the ocean of happiness. Mahodadi means big ocean, and Ananda is bliss. So he is the ocean of bliss, and if we do not strive for him, then we waste our time only looking for these objects. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Atmanah swasya nitya bhajan rupa ananda ras mahodadhir yasya tasya bhakta janasya. So he says that Lord is the real artha, is the object to be desired, is the ishta or desirable, and that's what devotees desire. So instead of searching for that, we are searching for some unwanted objects, positions, powers, relations. Nirupyatam swartha kiyan deha brito suraha nishekadeshu avasthasu tushyamanasya karmabhi. So he is asking his friends that tell me what actually is the real swartha, or goal to be attained by people, which is fulfilled by all these objects. Nirupyatam. Swarthakiyan Deha Bhrito Asura. And those who are having this body, what actually can they achieve from all this? Or what actually is the real Swartha? Real Swartha means the object which will give me actually happiness. So he says that the person goes through various states of life, beginning from conception in the womb of mother, and then performs various activities, karma bhi klishyamanasya, and he only attains suffering, kleshas. So he says, what does he achieve by this? Karmabhi klishyamanasya nishaikadi avasthasu priyam swartha. What is actually achieved by this? So if one makes balance sheet of one's life from birth till present or till death, then one will see that there is only loss, nothing is achieved. We have lost our time, our effort, our energy. And what do we possess? Because when we leave empty-handed. So what did we gain? If a person is doing business, then he invests time and money and energy. So he wants to gain something from that. It's not that he works hard in the business, invests money and his own time and also effort, and then ultimately what comes out is nothing. He goes in loss. So who wants to do such a business? No intelligent businessman will do such a business. But we as human beings are only doing this. He says that you are spending your whole life and your efforts, your energies. At the end, what do you get? Can you show something that this is what I got? So he says, what is the use of this? It's very simple, clear, very logical. If you ask some old man, retired person who has lived his life full, and then you ask that, okay, now you have to leave sooner or later. So what are you carrying with you? You worked very hard, people work very hard to build a house, maintain family, they are very much worried about children, their education, their marriage, their health, all this. So then when he leaves, what does he take with? Maybe only criticism from others. The same people for whom they worked really, they are happy that the old guy dies. He is considered as a burden these days. Previously at least people had some affection for their parents. Now, sometimes they leave old mother in Vrindavan and they just go. So you are just a burden. Everybody is waiting when you will die. So they feel relief. So this is what you have earned. This is your savings. So therefore he says, Nirupyatam ihasvat. He says, my dear friends, tell me. Nirupyatam means inform me, explain to me. I'm asking you that you have to die now. So what is that you are carrying with you? What have you earned? So you are only going in loss. So therefore, he says, why do such a thing? So klishyamanasya iti bhoge avsareva nasti iti bhava. He says, the word klishyamanasya is in present tense, means a suffering person. That you are doing karma and then you are suffering. He says, why the word klishyamanasya is used? says because there is no time really to enjoy. People are so busy. Karmanyarabhate dehi dehena atmanuvartina karmabhistanute deham mubhyam tu avivekatah. So he says that the embodied self starts doing karma. His life begins karmanyarabhate dehi dehena atmanuvartina. Body which follows the self, you perform karma. And because of the karma you get two types of body, the gross body, the psychic body, the subtle body. And this is only because of avivek, or not having the proper discrimination, proper understanding that I am separate from these two types of body. I am not the mind, I am not the intelligence, I am not the gross body. So not having this knowledge, a person performs work and is worried and is in anxiety about so many things. People are all the time in anxiety. So when you live you are in anxiety, and then you die, you don't carry any possessions, achievements with you. So he says, this is because of avivek. Dehena manusha sharirena. Deha body here means specifically the human body. Karma sadhake deham swargi shariram. So you perform karma and then you get another body as a result of karma. So this physical body is an outcome of previous karma. We did karma in the past, we are awarded this physical body. With this we will perform work, then we will get another body. So you can go to heaven, swargi shariram, ubhyam taddehadvayam avivekta. So he says it is only because of this aviveka. Aham karma kuruva iti. Aham karma phalam swargoku bhunjayati abhimanam. So we say I will do the work and I will enjoy heaven. Heaven means happiness as an outcome of my karma. Tadabhimanasya avivek mulatvat atmanasya dehadvayatari. So this ego is rooted in ignorance. To think I am this body, that is the root cause of ignorance. And then not knowing that I am separate from this. So nothing is attained by that. Tasmad arthasya kamasya dharmasya yadapashrayah bhajtani hyatmanam maniham harimeshwaram. So therefore he again advises, earlier also he has said it, again and again he is repeating this. He says, therefore worship that Lord Hari Krishna, Ishvara, the Supreme Master, the Supreme Regulator of the cosmos, who is actually the shelter of Artha, Dharma and Kama. So Dharma, Artha, Kama are not independent of him. Although we think. So it is very big ignorance that in this big universe we hardly control anything. And there is a Supreme Controller, we hardly care for him. And yet we think that we can achieve something. So he says whether it is Dharma, Artha or Kama, it is all under his shelter. And therefore take shelter of him. That's why Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman Parityajya, Mam Ekam Sharanam. Because whether you follow Dharma or you follow Artha or you follow Kama, he is the source. He is the dharma of religious people. And kamo, dharma viruddha bhutesu kamosmi dharmosmi kama. And he is the artha. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara Tatra Shri. That's where the wealth is. Vijaya. Bhuti, Niti, everything is there. So therefore he says Bhajta Anihaya Atmanam. He says therefore worship him and worship without any other desire. Because he is the fulfiller of all desires. He is Hari Ishvara and he is the Atma. So Atma means the supreme object of love. So he is the supreme object of love. And instead of worshipping him, we are worshipping so many other things which do not give us anything. Tari viveka eva kas tatraha tasma. So earlier he says that people are functioning because of aviveka, not having proper understanding, discrimination. So if the question is raised, so what is the proper discrimination? Then he gives you this verse. Yada pashraya yada dhinaha anaduham virishanam kartritva bhoktritvadaya swami adhina igatya. So he says everything is under his control. Just like he gives an example that if there are bulls and they do some work or they eat, so all that is under the control of the owner of the bulls. Bulls don't do work independently. When the master engages them in the bullock cart or in the plough or pulling something, they do work. They also don't eat independently. When they are given food, they can eat, otherwise they are tied. So he said, just as their activities and their food, which means their enjoyment, is under the controller of the owner of the bulls, in the same way, our wealth, our fulfillment of our desires, and even the result of our dharma is under the control of the Lord. You cannot get independently the result. Karmanyeva adhikaraste na phaleshu kadachan. You can perform karma, but the result is under him. So therefore he says, worship him. Anihaya kamna rahityena aniham nirapeksha. So for that reason he says, worship the Lord and worship him without any desire. And the Lord himself is aniha, means he does not expect anything from you. He himself is complete in him. So therefore worship him without any motive, hidden motive. So that is what real bhakti is. That's what Parama Dharma, Dharma Projita Kaitva, Parama Nirmat Sarana. So that is the Projit Kaitava, supreme dharma free from any deception. When one worships the Lord without any intention of getting anything from him. Sarveshamapi bhutanam hariyatma ishvara priyaha bhutair mahadbhi swakritai kritanam jiva sangitaha. Lord Hari, he is the Atma, the very self, and Priya, the object of love of every living being. And Bhutahi Mahadbhi Swakritahi Kritanam Jiva Sangita. He himself manufactures these material bodies and takes the name of Jiva. So there is no problem in worshipping the Lord Krishna because He is Priya, He is dear, He is the object of love. If we have to surrender to somebody who is not lovable, then that will be hard. We have to surrender to a person who is cruel, harsh, has no love. And this will be very painful, very disturbing. But he says that he is the Priya, he is the actual object of love. Our love, really speaking, is only for God. But when we do not have the viveka, proper understanding, then we love other things. But even then we love them only because there is a presence of God in them. Without God we cannot love anything. So even when you are attracted to some power, position, some human being, some animal, that attraction is only because there is manifestation of God's potency in that person. And only that potency is attracting. So ultimately everybody is attracted only to God. That's why He is called most attractive or all attractive Krishna. We cannot be attracted to anything other than Him. He is our very Atma. It's like in this body, Atma is most dear. When Atma leaves, then nobody loves the body. Love is only because of the Atma. So that object of love, Atma leaves, then body no one likes. But Krishna is the Paramatma. He is the Supreme Atma, which means He is the supreme object of love. And this is what He depicted in His Leela here in Vrindavan. How He was loved by everybody. So that is reality, that is the truth, that is the Viveka. But when we do not have that Viveka, when we do not have this understanding, this knowledge of truth, then out of ignorance we love so many things. But even then we are only looking for God. Because our satisfaction, our happiness, our fulfillment cannot come from anything else. We are spiritual being, we are living being, we are conscious. Matter cannot make us fulfilled. It's like if you have a golden ornament and some part is missing in that, you want to make it complete, you need gold. You cannot bring iron and make it complete. So we are conscious living beings. The inert matter cannot make us complete. Therefore it does not matter how much material objects we possess, wealth we possess, we will always feel incomplete. So our completion comes only when we love Krishna, the Supreme Source, the Supreme Object of love, Paramatma. So that's what he is saying, that he is the Priya, he is Atma. Sarveshamapi Bhutanam Hariratma Ishvara Priya. So he is the Hari who attracts everyone's mind. And he is the Atma, he is the very source of our consciousness. And therefore he is most dear. So he also becomes Jiva. Jiva is Tatastha Shakti, it's only his energy. यतः सर्वेषां देहश्च जीवश्च परमात्मा च प्रियश्च वस्तुतो हरिरेव तस्मात् तं भजत इत्यादि. So he says that actually everybody is, whatever you think you are or you possess, ultimately it is all him. Vasudevaha sarvamiti. So all this is Vasudeva. Neha nana asti kinchana. Upanishad says that there is here nothing else but him. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. Idam means all this which is within your vicinity, within your own experience. That is all Brahman, Krishna, Vasudeva. So he says that even your body, even yourself, even the Supreme Soul, Paramatma, and anything which is dear to you, Priyascha, Vastuto Harire. So in truth it is only Hari. But because of our ignorance we do not see this. So those who are truly devotees, they can see this. Sarvabhutashu yapashyat bhagavad bhavam atman. So they can only see Bhagavad Bhava or existence of Bhagavan in everything. Yamam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mahi pashyati. When he sees everything in me and me in everything. So therefore he says that sarvasham dehascha jivascha paramatma cha priyascha vastuto harire. It is only Hari, it is only Krishna who is everything. So this is what he shows in his universal form, that everything is He. He says, Jaya Asmi, Vavsa Asmi. In his Vibhuti Yoga, that's what he shows. It is everything. Tasmat tam bhajata. Therefore he says, just worship him, serve him, love him. Sarvesham deva triyagadinam api atma paramatma saev ishvara. So whether there are some devatas, people worship various types of devas or animals or lower beings, it is all his manifestation. He is Ishvara, he regulates everything. Svenaiva kritahi kritanam iti deho api tatkarana katva. Saeva jiva sangha sangha. And even he says that even our body is him because he is the cause. So janmadashyataha, this whole cosmos has come from him. So therefore it is him only. So body also. And therefore the Jiva Sankhya Sanjata Yasya. So even the name Jiva is his ultimately. Because it is he who gives life. Jivayati Jiva, one who gives life to everyone is called Jiva. Jivasya tadiya tatastha shakti rupatvat. So Jivas are his tatastha shakti. And therefore it is he only who is Jiva in the form of his potential. So therefore it says Jiva Sangita. Yadva sarvesham priyattvadapi tameva bhajata itya sarvesham bhutanam yo Jiva Sangya Jivanam nama tatotu priya. Or he gives an alternative meaning. This may be difficult to swallow that Jiva is he. So he says that he is the beloved of everyone, all beings. So he says, well, our own self is very dear, our own Atma. So he says that he is more dear than Atma also. Jiva nama tato api priya. Although our own self is most dear in our body, but he is more dear than the self. Therefore, he is the object of love for everyone. So that is the alternative. So, Hariratma Ishvara Kriya Utanam Jiva Sangita. So, Jiva Sangita take the meaning that even from that which is called Jiva is more dear than that. So, if I love myself, then I should love him more than myself. Right? So, if you love your body, everybody loves their body, then you should love him more than your body. So, whomever you love, you should love him more than that person. That is the meaning. Because whatever you love, that love is only because of the Jiva. If you love your body, that is only because the Jiva is inside. When the Jiva is not inside, if you leave this body and you take another birth, then you don't love this body. So, whatever you love, it is only because you love the Jiva in that person. And Krishna is more dear than the Jiva because he is the source of the Jiva. So therefore he should be loved more than anything else. More than your wealth, more than your relatives, your wife, husband, children, possessions. Because he is more dear than anything else. So therefore he says that you worship him. Sarvesham api bhutanam hari atma ishvara kriya. Devo shuro manusya va yaksho gandharva eva cha bhajan mukunda charanam swastiman syad yatha vayam. So whether somebody is a deva or asura or human being or a yaksha or a gandharva or anything else, not only human beings but whatever one may be, because he is speaking to the Daityas, they may say that we are Daityas, we don't need to worship him. He is worshipped by human beings and he is an enemy of Daityas. So he says no, whether you are a deva or asura or human beings or yaksha or gandharva, bhajan mukunda charanam swastiman syat yathavayam. By worshipping the feet of Krishna, you will attain all swasti, all auspiciousness, all happiness. He says, as I have attained. So he is giving his own example. So Prahlad is giving his own example that he personally is having experience of this. He is speaking not only what he has heard from Narada, but he is also experiencing it. Therefore he says, Swasti man syat yathavayam. So therefore worship of Krishna is for everybody, not for particular human beings or particular class of people or particular country, or only for people of earth, but for everyone in this universe or beyond. So that's what he says all this, beginning from Deva down to the Asuras. So there are various types of living beings which are existing. Just recently I came to know of a book. I met one professor recently in America, and he is doing research for the last 25 years on mediums, people who contact the spirits or who have died. And there are many people in the world like that. who have come in contact with dead beings, or persons who are no more living. And these people, they speak through these mediums and explain where they are and what they are doing and what they are experiencing. And it is quite interesting. So it is not something imagination, because he is a professor, he has done thorough research on this topic. Read a lot of books, I also met many of these mediums. So he was explaining that how there are so many types of living beings. What we read here in the Puranas, all these Yaksha, Rakshasa, of course, these people are talking, they don't talk in the same words. But by reading their experiences, you can understand that there are various types of species, lives which are existing. And they are explaining that our bodies are not like this. As you have here, they are light, they are made of different matter. They don't need to eat food like this. One of them is explaining, he was a judge, he died. And then he comes to somebody and explain that how many times people, when they go to a bar and drink there are many spirits who are of the same nature, they hang around and they try to drink through them. So they make them drink more. Another interesting thing is saying that when somebody wants to do something bad, then these bad spirits come and help him to do that. So that's why it's very difficult to rectify oneself, because these people don't want. So there are all kinds of spirits, there are good ones also who try to help. So it's very interesting. So that's, we understand why Prahlad was saying sadhu sangha, that you associate with sadhu bhaktana. Because around them you will have another type of people. So here in India we know that when you do puja, then many times you do things to protect yourself from evil spirits. Like you read that you should keep your japamala inside a bead bag, otherwise the evil spirits take away your chanting. So sometimes you wonder what does it mean, but when you read this, then you actually can see that there are many beings around you which you don't perceive. There's a whole world around it. So then he says that although we say that it is above this, and he's also saying that there are 7 above and 7 below. He said, guys are Christians. I know nothing about Hinduism, but he says that there are 7 upper ones, 7 lower ones, and the lower ones are not nicer, and upper ones are good. And he says everyone is not able to reach everywhere. So he says, but he says, don't think that it is geographical, this up and down. So they are all linked up. So therefore we read in the Puranas that there are various, what you call as Upadevas. There are Devas and Upadevas. So all these Gandharvas, Kinnaras, etc., they are called Upadeva. They are not very high, they are very close to earth. And they hang around here, and they can help or disturb also. So these Yakshas, Rakshasas, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, they are all Upadevas, minor gods. And they have more powers. So therefore he says, but ultimately he says that, he also says that the love of God is the highest thing. It's interesting that even they have this idea. He says people here are wasting their life. They have no knowledge. Similar things they talk like this. And they are very afraid to take birth on earth. And we hear that the Devas don't want to touch the earth. So because this earthly life is so struggle, and he specifically saying, the judge, he says, who wants to be inside the womb of the mother? Say that. He was a judge. He says, I would not like to be in the womb of my mother for 10 months. bluntly. It's very interesting what we read here in the Puranas. So therefore it says, Devo Asuro Manushya Va Yaksho Gandharva Evacha Bhajan Mukunda Charanam Swasti Mansyadi. So much nice knowledge is available to us, we don't have to spend 25 years to do all this research. We actually have been given this wonderful Purana by Vyasa, which tells us even much more, which you will not get from them. And very systematic and the whole procedure, because they don't tell you what you have to do. So therefore Prahlad is instructing his friends that now you have this opportunity as a human being, so worship that Lord Hari, because nothing else can please him except pure devotion. So yasmad evam tasmat sarvaeva bhaktim kuryat kuryu ityaha deva. So he says, such being the case, therefore everyone should take to bhakti. This is the process for every living being, not just human beings. Because only service to Lord Mukunda, therefore he is called Mukunda, Mukunda Charana, Muktim Dadati to Mukunda, because he gives mukti, he gives freedom from all the bondage, and that will bring swasti, auspiciousness. All inauspicious things will be destroyed. So this is the instruction, and then there are a few more verses, we will read that tomorrow. We will ultimately conclude strongly about bhakti. If there is any questions?
We are quoting from the Gita that one who sees me in everything and everything in me. It seems unlikely that one can reach that stage just by intellectual deliberation of viveka.
Yes, Viveka of course is not very stable, but that is the beginning. At least one theoretically begins one's understanding. And then experience comes later.
Now, when you face this, truly evil characters that are walking around on this planet, how do you, see Krishna in them?
Well, you can at least know that whatever they are doing, their intelligence, their mind, their physical body is energy of God. So
Okay,
in that
that's
sense,
far from loving.
of course, loving does not mean now that you have to embrace them, but you have to at least have this idea and not have hatred. You have to protect yourself, and maybe you have to even destroy them, but without hatred. So that is the important point. That even if you have something which is undesirable to your life, to your existence, maybe an obstacle in your service, then you have to remove it, whether it is an object or a living being. You should not have hatred for that, because when you have hatred, then that will condition you. So that's why Krishna says, Yasya naham krito bhavo buddhi yasya nalipyate. When your buddhi is not implicated in it, buddhi becomes implicated by love and hate, raga and dvesha. So you have to extricate your intelligence from this raga and dvesha. That is the basic point behind this seeing the existence of God everywhere. Because if God is my object of love, then I cannot hate him even if he comes as a Rakshasa, although I may have to fight with him. That's what he is telling Arjuna, that he has to fight with his guru, and with his grandfather whom he worships, Ujar Havari Sudana. And yet he is saying you have to kill them. So kill but not hate. So why they have to be killed? Because now they are creating disturbance, being on the side of Adharma. So Krishna is giving instructions by practical example. He also killed his maternal uncle, but he did not hate him. And then he put his maternal uncle's father as the king, Aggrasena. If he would have hated him, then he would have thrown his father also and become himself king. After killing, then he asked that now proper ceremony should be done for him. So the idea is not to have hatred. Raga dvesha viyukta istu vishyanindriya charan. So you have to engage your senses in the sense object, but without raga and dvesha. So that Vishya could be a living being or an insentient object. So no raga, no dvesha. And that can come only when you have this holistic vision. Vasudeva Sarvamata. So we have to perform our duty. But at the same time, we have to keep this vision.
So seeing the Shiva as the Tatastha Shakti, that is the Shakti of Krishna, which means seeing every Shiva as Krishna's energy.
Yes. So the fact, but this is not something imaginary.
So then every individuality that we perceive is like meaningless. What is the individuality?
Individuality is because body is also manifesting its qualities. It also belongs to his external energy. The person is ultimately the combination of these two, Prakriti and Atma.
And where is the independence of the living entity? If it is actually, the Shakti of God, there is no independence.
Now this question of independence is a little bit tricky. See, there are two ways of seeing things. One is to see from the absolute point of view, and one is to see from individual point of view. When you see things from absolute point of view, and you have to see from both, otherwise you will miss the point. When we see from the absolute point of view, then there is no independence. There is no free will, there is nothing. When we see from individual point of view, and because individual is supposed to act, and it's not just an insentient object, then there has to be some choice to be made. So then we say that God has given some freedom, which may be very limited, and that varies from person to person depending on the knowledge one has, the sense control one has, exercises. So then it has to be seen. But when you see from ultimate, because ultimately there is only one reality. See the Siddhanta, principle of Bhagavata. Vadanti tat tattvadas tattvam is jnanam advayam. And there is only one Advaya Tattva. Advaya means non-dual. And if there is only one, then where is the question of freedom? Because freedom means that now there are two. Because if you have freedom, from me, then I am separate and you are separate. Right? Then you can do something which is not in my control. So then there is no Advaita. But when you analyze, even if you analyze logically, then there has to be one ultimate thing. Otherwise this universe cannot function. If things are just independently happening, then there will be a chaos. Therefore, even if there is a country, there has to be one government. Ultimately there is one head. Even if there are many people, even if there is a committee, then still you have one person who is chief. Otherwise it cannot function. It's like you have your physical body. So you have hands, you have legs, you have eyes, you have ears, you have all these things. But ultimately there is one thing, one ego. That's why ego is important. There is one ego who rules over everything. So, but you can say, well, my nose is independent to smell. But when you see from the ego point of view, nothing is independent. That's why you say, I smell it. Although it is the nose which is smelling, but you say, I smell it. I is not doing anything. The smelling process has nothing to do with I. How can I smell? I is not a sense. Right? There is a sense of smell, and then there is an I, and there is a mind, and there is intelligence, and physical body. So where is this I doing anything? But still you say, I smell it, I eat it. If you analyze eating, I is not eating. You put the food in your mouth, it goes into the stomach. That's what eating is. Where is I involved in it? But without I, you take out the I, it won't happen. So when you see from I point of view, there is nothing which can happen independent of I. Because no action, no verb can happen without I. But when you see from the eating point of view, then you see that I is really not involved in it. You put your food into the mouth, you chew it, you go into the stomach. You can see that. So similarly, even logically we have to accept that there has to be somebody, one, above everything, who has to say this is all me. That's why sometimes people say why Krishna is being so egoistic. Aham sarvasya prabhava matta sarvam pravate. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharachara. He says, Maya adhyakshena. So he is the adhyaksha. Means sitting above. Like I sits above everything. So when you see from absolute point of view, then there is only one reality. But if there is only one reality, then that is like Brahman, Advaitavad. Then there is nothing else exists. Or even if it exists, it's like a mechanical thing. Like there is a machine running, and one person is controlling the machine. The machine does not have any independence, no free will. So then everything becomes mechanical. So scientists also had some idea like that. God created the universe like a clock. He started it and then he is outside that. This idea was also propagated sometimes. But that's not true. He is also involved in it. So then comes the second factor of energy and energetic. Bheda and abheda. One and different. So therefore you have to always see these two sides. And then the variety comes, then free will also comes, which is not really so free. But some willing, some choice has to be there, otherwise there is no point in saying you worship. You don't have any choice. Because you can reject my instruction or you can take my instruction. So you have to have that choice, choosing ability.
Then the facility and energy to make a choice is also his.
That's what I'm saying. When you go ultimately from absolute point of view, then there is nothing. No choice, nothing. But when you come to this end, then it starts changing. This truth is not black and white. That's why it is so complex to understand.